friends, how are you today? I am so happy to be here with you discussing the Schumann resonance and effects on our human energy systems to learn by understanding these dynamics. So, there's so much to talk about today. I'm just going to let it flow in the moment. But before we start, could you please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and would you please share the video if it resonates with you? It helps me with the algorithms. It helps me expand my audience. So thank you so much for doing that. It's Wednesday, August 11th, and we have two huge waves on the chart, one from last night and one from yesterday. We also have the chart clear of the technological effect. So I was waiting for the second wave. I thought it would come actually right here. And I'll tell you the reason that I was waiting for it. As soon as I saw this here, it immediately reminded me of when we had a wave recently that looked like the hip joints. And so I was waiting for the other leg/hip joint, but it actually came the next day. This is a super important image in the chart that I'm going to interpret. But first, I want to look with you at the black charts. I'm adding something to these charts because I often talk about it, but I haven't shown you it in numbers. Yet this is what I'm often looking at when I discuss how the wave affects the frequency bands. So these two boxes with white lines are right here. Okay, there are these two waves. So this is what I am usually looking at. I'm looking at how much does the wave affect the frequency, because what we see when these big waves come in often is the frequency drops. Now, sometimes it drops a lot. And here's an example of that right here. Sometimes it doesn't drop so much. Sometimes the frequency band is unaffected. And I interpret this in two different ways. The first is, it appears to me that when an expanded energy is occurring in the Schumann, and by expanded, I mean maybe it's from, like, there's a celestial influence, reflective of energy from the human soul. It brings a divine effect or quality in our lives where we feel like the divine has our back. What I have perceived is that when those types of waves come in, you get these big dips. And then what I do is I look at which of the resonances are being affected the most, and I use that in my interpretations. So I'm giving you a sneak peek behind here. So in both the waves, we had this effect. So this is divinity talking to us, in my view. Now, when the frequency stays flat and a wave come in, what does that mean? When that happens, it's my interpretation that the white resonance is then simply showing us what is active on the chart at this moment for humanity. So if we look at the wave, there was a big drop, and then in general, I want to say I'm interpreting this as flattish, flattish with a dip, flattish with an up and a down, flattish here in the yellow, flattish in the green. So here we go. And that's right here. What I'm interpreting that to be as that this is about action going on in the chart. And it's about activity in the red that is getting some light brought to it by the divine. Cool how that works, isn't it? It's kind of like codes, you know? So I'm reading the codes. Now let me show you this. So here you have the white drop 0.3 hertz, yellow 1, red 2, and green 1.3. So to me, what this wave of light is doing is it's affecting the most the deep, deep density in the third dimension. Like, for example, our deep, deep emotions, our thoughts that we just can't, where we can't break through stuff, heavy stuff, okay? Also, the plans of the forces of darkness. Secondarily, the effect to me here is in the yellow which in my view is the astral. And the astral is integral to the human experience in my view. I'm going to link below the article on the fourth dimension that I wrote, where I explain why the astral, which in my view is the fourth dimension, why it's integral. Okay. The green drops 1.3 hertz, so a little bit more than the yellow. So to me, this is also saying like the action is really in the red. The effect is in the yellow and green. Okay, so the astral and the human experience, because I view green as reflecting human experience. And I've already explained how I view the white resonance. Here, this energy pushes into the red experience, those deep and tight emotions and thoughts. It pushes into them, bringing the light of the divine, bringing the expanded light, like a slightly higher plane in the same dimensional experience, or maybe even a taste of the next level up from the deep, deep density of the third to maybe a taste of expanded astral experience. So this stresses the red, okay? And that is why the red dips so low. When you get over here, it comes off a little bit. And what does that do? It's like a release of tension. And in the release of tension, we're able to let some of that deep density go. So it's like this. It's like when you've been stressed for a while, right? Something happens and you just snap. You can just start, yelling. You could have a big crying fit. You could have a big yelling fit at someone. Like you could take it out on someone, or you could just take it out, in your own experience. And there's another approach. You could release and let go and give it to God. You could say, I'm done. I'm done, God. I'm done trying to push this mountain. And I accept divine will flowing through me. I choose to align with the will of God. And I trust that even though I don't know what that's going to look like in the next moment, I don't know what that's going to look like tomorrow, that I'm going to trust that this is in my highest good. And given the release of tension that we saw, I'm thinking that could have been a major change. And also the wave shape really shifted. And to me, that indicates a major change as well. The hardest thing in the face of this kind of energy can be to just accept the truth and tell yourself the truth, whatever that happens to be. This can be an incredible mechanism for spiritual growth, and I think that's why the energies were so strong up here in the high hertz, 40 hertz range, the spiritual experience for humans. Here's how I see these energies. I see the father dreaming of his child and his family. The father dreaming of his wife and their child, their family. He dreams that his family will walk in the light, that his family will trust in the divine, will accept in their hands, right, in their daily action, the light of God in their life, and that his child follows this path as he and she grow. It's a dream of the father blessing the influence of his wife, the mother, on their family. It's a dream of the mother blessing and accepting the divine role of the father in her family. Together they're strong. Together they're in alignment with how their own souls guide them in the highest good. How do I see all this in the chart? I mentioned previously, this, in my view, is an image of an Archon. Here you have the crone, which I did my last video on, And the Archons, one on either side, stand back from her. They stand back from her because she brooks no interference in what she is doing. Because with a thought, she could blink them out of existence. They stand back from her in respect, maybe out of fear. It is said that the Archons were created at the beginning by Gaia Sophia, who created the galaxy with a swish of her hand and Earth, and fell in love with her creations. Can the old crone be seen as a witch, whether that is a good witch or a bad witch, following the dark path, following the light path? Sure, in human reality, as the energy filters through the dimensions, it takes on those forms, among others. But she is also so much more than this. The crone is a representative of the divine Mother on earth in her highest forms. She is a representative of Mother Earth herself, of the divine Mother herself in her highest state of being. And this is why the Archons stand back from her. Here's the other archonic influence that I see in the chart. And when I say archonic, I mean a version of the dark forces. I knew that this was a leg bone and then the hip bone here, and this here, the opening of the pelvis through which children are birthed. That's why I was waiting for the other leg bone. But indeed, it turns out that it's really just the hip bone, right? Because it just looks like a little bit like a hip bone there. And what I see the Archon doing here, the Archon, consciousness, attempting to measure, attempting its activity in the lower hertz, attempting to measure the fertility of human beings, attempting to assess the continuation of the human race. Yet, try as they might, the Archons are not the key mover here. As much as they may try to cause us to fear them, as much as the forces of darkness try to convince us that they're all-powerful, the action comes from the divine, right here. And as you go up, you see this incredible line that looks so much like the genetic karyotype that I've seen going back to January of 2020. And here's the light, the jewel colors. The Archons and the dark forces aren't the only ones at play here. The divine takes its measure as well and determines what is in the highest good. What will it support through us? I feel a little uncomfortable talking about this today, and I guess the reason why is I spoke to someone about a similar theme, the plans of the forces of darkness, over the weekend, and they didn't react very well, despite having asked me for the information. I wanted to just speak about this for a minute. Why do I talk about this, and why do I address these forces? The reason that I do it is because the light of transparency, in my view, is what initiates our ability to change and heal these if we wish as individuals. And I'm speaking about as an individual. I'm not speaking about the collective. I'm speaking about that this chart appears to represent the collective, yet we can make an individual choice about how this is going to be in our lives. I have long ago disconnected my path from the path of the collective soul. Why? Because I am a divine child of the Creator, and I am a child of my own soul. And my own soul has sovereignty within this physical human form over me. And I align with this sovereignty, this energetic sovereignty. Thus, I am a creation in the physical world, but not of the physical world. Okay, so I want to tell you this story. This story is this. I was working with a lady. Okay, I have been studying, and this is one of the reasons why I didn't put out a video in the past few days. I had about 14 and a half hours of classes on this weekend, so I'm in a voracious learning mode. So one of the classes, the teacher assigned us a partner, and we're analyzing something using astrology. The partner and I met for about 6 hours on Friday, so that was not a small investment of time. And we talked through all these aspects, and I was holding back on sharing about the occult influence in the chart, but I mentioned it. So finally, my partner says, "Look, I really want you to share this information, with me." And I said, "Okay." And I started going through the symbols, the placements of different things. Oh my goodness. She starts yelling, "Stop, stop. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to hear about this. I try to keep my focus in the light." And I said, "First of all, you asked me for an explanation. Second of all, I've declared a space of sacred discharge when I speak, and I light the violet flame for myself. I do these things for myself before I speak. So I am not creating when I speak. I'm simply telling this story in a neutral space of energy." And the next thing is, I said, "Look, just because you now don't want to know about these forces does not mean that they're not in the chart, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to influence you." Okay? And this wasn't a personal chart for her, but it was a project. Okay? It was a project. I said, it doesn't mean that it's not going to affect the outcomes here. So if you ignore it, it will still affect the outcomes. There just won't be any transparency on that. And so this person said, "Oh, okay, but I stopped talking about it." All right, now, the next thing that happened was we were supposed to present the project together, and they had already started the write-up. The process that we discussed was, well, both of us have taken extensive notes. They're sending the write-up to me. I'm adding my notes, then sending it back. So we're going to do a back and forth, right? Okay. So what happens is the night passes, I don't get the write-up. The day starts the next day, I don't get the write-up. Now we are, it's the next day that we have to present. I'm emailing and I'm saying, "Look, do you have the write-up? I'd like to contribute to it." And I get a message back that says, "Oh, you don't have to talk at all during the presentation." Then I get a message back that says, hold on. Then I get a message back that says, "Oh, I already sent you the presentation, but there was no attachment." Okay. So I write back and I said, "Well, okay, I haven't received the presentation. It's not in any of the emails you've sent me. If you don't want me to contribute, then just take my name off of it and do it yourself. That's fine." So now I'm bringing the light of transparency to the fact that she appears to just want to do it herself. That's fine with me, but don't put my name on it if I can't contribute. And of course, I'm starting my own presentation now. But then she says, "Oh, no. I would like you to participate. I'm fair. I will send you the present. Okay, I never get the presentation. It's the next day now. I didn't do my presentation because the last time we talked, we're both speaking together, but yet I never was able to contribute. So what I do is I write up all my notes and I'm ready to participate the next day. Class comes and it's our turn to present. And this person tells the teacher, "Oh, okay, I've sent you the presentation. I believe you have received a separate presentation from Susan that she said she was going to send you." Is this what we discussed? No. Is she making me look bad in front of the teacher? Yes. And by the end of class, given emails that we had written to each other during, sort of during class and then after, and her focus at the end, it became clear to me that, you see, there's a competition at the end of this class. And it became clear to me that she's positioning herself for the competition rather than making this, making just, okay, this is going to be a team project. I'm going to be a team player on this. Then I'm going to compete on the final competition is totally different. And now this is an untruth that's been told. Okay, so she lied to the teacher. And I just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed about this, because the person who refused to hear about the occult influences and the strategy of the dark forces that I saw in the project is now lying about the project while saying that they are keeping themselves solely in the light. Okay? So what am I trying to say here? That we can choose to ignore the influence of the dark forces and of the shadow in life. But in ignoring it, we partner with it within ourselves until we bring the light of transparency to our own actions, our own patterns. And sometimes it's easier to see it outside yourself first. That is, if you can see it at all.